All right. I'm here with Matt, who just finished the second round of Experience Freedom. And Matt is extra special because he actually went through both rounds of Experience Freedom. So he has a pretty dialed in perspective on what this whole thing is about because he's been a part of it every time I've done it so far. So I'm super grateful that you're here and willing to share your experience with some people who might be considering making this choice for themselves. So thanks for being here. And I would love to just get started by having you kind of let us into where you were at before Experience Freedom floated into your awareness, kind of what you were feeling mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, whatever ones actually apply to you, kind of where you were prior to making this choice.
Sure. So before Experience Freedom, I was I was probably not in the greatest of mindsets in general. Kind of had some things happen in my life personally and professionally. Had a relationship that didn't quite go the right way, and I had kind of gone into almost like this self-diagnosis kind of mode where I was just constantly reading things and trying to figure out kind of what was going on in my head and, kind of what I cared about, who I was, that kind of thing. And then, kind of felt like I was stalling out with that particular approach. I just kind of felt like I was reading books and I was getting good perspectives, but ultimately was having trouble kind of applying them to my life and making a difference. Because ultimately it's not only about what it's about the way that you feel too. And I think I had, in general, kind of overemphasized kind of the knowing part than the feeling part. And, when I came across Experience Freedom, I had kind of been keeping my ears open for, I liked the idea of coaching. The Experience Freedom wasn't necessarily like super heavily positioned as a coaching program, but once I read kind of the website and the materials, it really spoke to me and kind of really related to kind of the place that I was at with reading the books and not being able to kind of apply them and get the good feelings out of it. So I was kind of ready for, more, a more action oriented kind of stage of my life beyond just knowing things, which was what I found.
Amazing. Thank you. So what was the biggest reason that you decided to invest with me? Was it an edge for you? Was it scary to invest this amount when we had never met before? Like, kind of let us inside the moment that you decided to do this for yourself and why.
Sure. So I think, definitely felt like I was, waiting for something to present itself. I was kind of in this mode where I was keeping my ears open and my eyes out and kind of, I knew that I wanted to do something different. Now, what it was going to be, I had no idea what it was going to be. Like I said, I kind of knew about coaching programs in general. I didn't know what they were specifically. And I imagine there's a great range of them out there, even beyond what I know now. But I wasn't only looking at coaching stuff. I was looking at like, travel groups or like, is there like a meetup I need to join or something? And ultimately, just the exact words that, it was so random that I found Experience Freedom. And then once I saw Experience Freedom and read everything about it, it was like perfectly in line with everything that I was thinking. So it just was such a perfect match that like I really tried not to overthink it. So like to some degree, I think that like it presenting itself to me was like almost the first lesson of the program. So I tried not to overthink it. And I was like literally, if I had to write something, this is what I would have written that I was looking for. So since it matched so well, I was just like, I'm going to do it right now. Definitely had some nerves about committing. But like I said, I think I was ready to take that leap. And, I would encourage anybody who gets to that point and is looking over that particular cliff that if you just do it, like there's a reason you're on that cliff looking over it. You know what I mean? So it's if you're at that point, this is the right thing to do.
Awesome. So you've done the program twice now. Can you share a little bit about, the transformation that you saw round one and what inspired you to take the course over again with me, and the depth of transformation that you found in the second round versus the first?
Yep. So in the first round, I really felt like I was kind of almost like reestablishing myself. I feel like I had kind of like fallen into a pit. So to some degree, I needed to like climb out of the hole. And then I viewed the second round more as, okay, well, now I've kind of like established this foundation for myself. I can't get an earthquake's not going to come along and everything's going to fall apart anymore. I viewed it more as like proactively going out and like doing things intentionally to make myself feel better. So I kind of felt like the first one I was fixing things, kind of the holes, the leaky holes in my boat. And then the second round, I was like, all right, I got a sweet boat. Now let's go sail it, across the world or something. So that's kind of the way that I looked at it.
Oh my gosh, I love that so much. That's so great. What do you think is the biggest change that you've seen in yourself from before you did the first round to where you sit today? What's like the biggest piece that you feel like you received, or the biggest shift that you've experienced?
I think for me, like the biggest, I kind of feel like it's all about perspective, because I don't necessarily think that I don't think that I like drastically think things different. I'm just able to act in the way that I feel inside of me, previous to Experience Freedom, I feel like I was putting kind of a filtered version of myself into the world. And then naturally what would happen is when people saw the filtered version that wasn't me, they would react to the filtered version, not knowing that it's a filtered version. So they're just reacting to the visible part that I'm putting out there. And then I'm reacting to how they're reacting to my fake self. So it's kind of like this negative feedback loop of nobody kind of talking to each other. So for me, the biggest thing is just like taking the leap and just like being like, well, don't do that anymore. No more filtering things, just being who you are. And then ultimately people arrange themselves around that. And when they do that, then it's actually in line with how I view myself, which makes me way happier and makes, me just better able to kind of relate and exist in the world with everybody else. So to me, it's kind of been like the ability to take away that filter that I was putting out there in the world. And then like, there's so many positive benefits that can come after that kind of flow from that, beginning.
Yeah, absolutely. It sounds like being your authentic self and feeling more seen and understood in that, and then also being able to connect more deeply because the place from which you're connecting is authentic. So people actually get to see the real you, and you feel like you're actually being seen and reflected in a way that's accurate to what your heart really says.
Yep. Instead of kind of like this fake thing, and then people respond to the fake thing, which I didn't view as myself in the first place. So like they're doing something that isn't even in relation to me, and it just kind of snowballs, it just kind of turns into this troublesome situation. And I think it just starts with just you just need a little bit of courage, and you need a certain perspective. We talk a lot about, acting from kind of abundance instead of kind of more of a scarcity mindset. So there's all these good things that come from just having the right frame of mind. And but you have to get to that frame of mind, and then from there, see it happen. And then, and then all of a sudden you start growing, instead of kind of like, constantly being chopped down.
Definitely. Was there anything that was surprising or unexpected that you got from Experience Freedom that you weren't quite anticipating, or you didn't know would happen?
It would be hard to have predicted. It would have been hard to know how like wide ranging the impacts of everything were, I think going into it, maybe I just expected that I would myself be, like I wouldn't feel bad, but that it would all still be inside of me, and I would still be acting the same way, but I would just kind of have this inner like security or something, which which I think I still have, which I think I got, but it seeps its way into like every single thing that you do. Like it seeps its way into, like, I was thinking if I had to like list off the benefits of what I got out of Experience Freedom, it would be a hilarious list of benefits that someone would just think that I was being totally fake by saying, because it would include things like, it would include like my posture. You know, I think my posture got better because of it. It would include my relationships, you know, like the fact, you know, I'm in a romantic relationship that I hadn't been in one for like, you know, a few years prior. It would include my professional life. So it's almost like, you know, when I start like listing off these things, you know, like I think my physical well-being is better. My ability to stretch and everything that I've done like has definitely come out of Experience Freedom. So it's been like every single possible benefit that I would ever want, you know what I mean? Like came from kind of just this one foundational thing in the middle, kind of fixing it. So I think maybe it's just like how it gets into everything you do, like the way you stand, the way you sit, you know, what you say to people. I couldn't have expected that it would be that wide ranging.
I love that so much. Thank you. And you are such a beautiful example of this also because you've done it twice and you really were present to the material and you were willing to try what it was that I suggested, even if you didn't know that it would work. You were like, all right, we'll see. And it's really cool to see that you've got that depth of result because you were at least willing to try these new ways of going about things and opening and being at the edge and leaping every single time. Mm-hmm. So I love hearing that. Is there anything particular that you appreciated in me as the guide and space holder of this?
Yeah. I mean, I obviously don't think it would be the same with anybody else. And I mean, I can't, it's hard for me to even think about like having a different person like lead me through these types of things. Like I just feel like you have the exact mindset that, you know, I would need as a teacher. You kind of have the analytical mind, but still the ability to like see the limitations of that and go beyond it. That might, you know, if I was going to say that there was another big surprise for me or something, is like the extent to which I've been able to go beyond like the limits of analyzing things. Cause like to a certain degree, you know, science has limitations. I mean, it's only been around since like the 1800s or maybe the mid 1700s, if you were, you know, liberal with when you put that as starting. And so it's only been a couple hundred years that people have actually been able to like come up with these factual scientific things that they are able to prove down to whatever, you know, certain degree of confidence they need to get to. But if you think about that, science is only like, you know, a fraction of a % of the reality that's out there. So if you limit yourself to that, you know, you get, there's so little amount of the world that you can engage with and deal with. And I don't know, I want to be out there in the 99% of stuff that's not figured out yet. It's a lot more fun. And, you know, there's a lot of stuff that we don't understand. And if I just stopped at everything I didn't understand, then, you know, you just get into a very limited worldview and a limited life that you can live. So, so your ability to take me beyond kind of the limits of analysis, I think is kind of, you know, one of the things that I appreciate the most, because, you know, at the end of the day, like the world tells you that's a good thing and you don't realize what it's costing you, you know, like, you know, going so hardcore into that kind of mindset. So, you know, getting that ability to take the leap, but having it based and grounded in a way that like, there's a reason that I'm doing that. And there's, you know, giving me a reason to leap, I guess is maybe the greatest thing that you've been able to give to me, because I don't think I was doing much leaping before.
I love that. It's because I lined up a bunch of pillows at the bottom. So you haven't just been through once, you've been through twice. So clearly you thought it was worth it to do it again. You know, would you say that it was worth it doing it twice? And what would you say to someone who is considering joining this, but the investment might be an edge for them, or they're not quite sure what they're going to get? What would you want to share with that person?
Well, the first thing I'd say is it's definitely worth it. You know, money is meant to be spent. You earned it. So like, if you're thinking about something, get it. I can't imagine something being more worth it. Not, you know, if you don't have the money, you don't have the money. But if you have, you know, if you're able to get it at all, you know, like it's definitely worth it. So that's the first thing. But you know, doing it more than once was definitely. I was just a different person doing it each time. So, you know, every time I feel like you would do it, it would be a different thing, not only because I'm different, but also because, you know, you learn things. And that's another thing that, I don't know, going back to the last question, of kind of like what you bring to the table as a coach. I think I really enjoy the fact that you change along with it too, because I'm changing along with it at the same time. So it's like fun to be changing together at the, you know, like, and getting higher and higher and higher. Like I wouldn't, I don't think I could ever get to a point where I'm like, yep, I've learned everything from Nina, you know, I'm done, you know, like she doesn't have anything else to offer. No, because like you're constantly reading different stuff and I'm reading different stuff. And like, because of the fact that we have like the similar mindset, and we're reading different things, maybe like makes it so that like we kind of get a fuller picture of everything, you know. It's kind of like having more cameras on the same thing or something like that, where you know, where you get those cool like matrix style photography kind of stuff going on. But yeah, like I don't know, I think if you're actually paying attention and you actually have intentions for what you're doing, that you change just constantly. And then, but like there are still like certain principles that you can have that are kind of like guiding lights, that as you grow and grow and you're in a different place, you might see the same thing that you saw 5 years ago or something, but you see it in an entirely new way. And that's constantly happening to me now, like where I'm like, huh, I had that realization like 10 years ago, but I never came back and re-examined it, you know, in this, from this new place. So I'm constantly finding myself, that's constantly happening to me, where I'm like, I missed like a huge perspective of something that I did in the past, because I didn't know everything I know now. So like, I almost feel like everything I'm always doing is always new to me now. It's just a different kind of thing. So, so I, you know, I hope my second time isn't my last time. So, you know, I hope that I get to do it more.
Yay, I would love that too. I agree. It's been really fun to grow with you because we've had that length of experience. And thank you for acknowledging that, because I go through the program too. Just I go through it from the place where I'm at, which is a little different. And even when people come in at different levels, you know, we're all a match because we created the container together and we all bring our own unique, you know, perspective, our own level of opening to whatever that week's topic might be. So,
and I'll also say that like I'm a very strategic person too. So like when I see you like pull one thing out and then put a new thing in or change one certain thing, like I kind of like think like, okay, well, why is she doing that? What was wrong with the other thing? Or not what was wrong with it, but what is she hoping to get out of this new thing that's maybe different from the last thing? So it kind of even gives you like an extra like meta kind of perspective on it, so that I can kind of see the way that you're thinking, which I just think is kind of cool at the same time too.
nothing ever gets by you. And I think that's part of what we share too, is our extreme attention to detail. I love that. And it allows me to really trust you too, because I know that if I miss something, you catch it. And it's really, really cool to have that. If there was, just kind of wrapping up, was there one week or one conversation or any one module or moment, whether it be in the group calls, one-on-one or on retreat, that was really like the most impactful, like the biggest aha for you?
Well, I mean, I don't want to give away too much about your secret sauce. But I mean, like the things where you reflect, where kind of you share your reflection of other people kind of with them, after you've been through like so much is like such a moment, you know. I feel like a lot goes into making that particular moment when you kind of, everybody in the group kind of shares kind of what they've learned about the other people. I think that that's like that is like such a crescendo of kind of what we've been doing. It's not fair really to pick that, because like I feel like just like everything is leading up kind of towards some of those kinds of things. You know, it might be my least favorite thing, but going through the epic life vision, because like I'm such a permission based person, you know, like my brain would just never have done that on its own. Like I would have never thought about an epic life vision, because I would never give myself permission to think about something that's so frivolous, or seemingly so frivolous, because it's not the thing that, it's not like my next step of reality. But when you do that, and when you approach things with the perspective that, you know, there is a lot out there that could come towards you and you deserve it, then, you know, it's pretty amazing how a lot of those little things that you thought were so dreamlike actually make their way towards you, because you've allowed for the possibility that maybe that should be the reality. So, you know, so it is some of the stuff like that where basically I just haven't given myself permission to even think about it, that I think forcing me to go through it. And you know, it's stuff that I read about in books, and I was just like, that seems silly, like that's not going to do anything for me, you know. But going through it with other people, you know, I think is really powerful. So I'd say probably like the epic life vision one, the activity around where we kind of wrote our old stories and then wrote our new stories, I think is a very powerful one. Because you start believing it, and you start like seeing the ways in which you were just fitting some thing that like is just following you around in the past, you know. It's like letting yourself be defined by these things that have happened in the past instead of what could be going forward. So I think all those types of things were pretty powerful for me.
I love that. And part of what I love about you so much is that the moment you have resistance to something is usually when you really commit to it, because you know there's resistance there and you have so much awareness now. So that's really cool. And I'm glad that you shared that with me, because that is a piece that a lot of people have a lot of resistance to. And now I'm for sure going to keep it. Awesome. Well, thank you for being willing to let others who are considering taking this journey with me into your experience a little bit. I love everything that you shared, and I know this is definitely not the end for us.
Awesome. Thank you.